Hi guys, so I'm here and going to be reading Magnus Chase, God's Vast Guard, The Sword of Summer, and I will be reading chapter 39. Freya is pretty. She has cats. I'm excited. Mom, I was so startled. I wasn't sure I'd said it aloud. Wait, you Blitzen Mom? Blitzen kicked me in the shin. Freya continued smiling. I suppose my son didn't tell you. He's quite modest. Blitzen, dear, you look very nice, but could you straighten your collar? Blitzen did, muttering under his breath. Been a little busy running for my life. And dear, Freya said, are you sure about that vest? Yes, Mom, Blitz grumbled. I'm sure about the vest. Vests are making a comeback. Well, I suppose you know best, Freya winked at me. Blitzen is a genius with fabric and fashion. The other dwarves don't appreciate his expertise, but I think it's marvelous. He wants to open his own anyway, Blitzen said, a little too loudly. We're on this quest. Freya clapped. I know, it's very exciting. You're trying to get Nivelier to find out more about the rope Glenampier. I don't know. And so naturally, the world tree directed you first to me. One of her cats clawed at the Persian rug, ripping several $1,000 of weaving into fluff. I tried not to imagine what the cat could do to me. So, Lady Freya, I said, can you help us? Of course, said the goddess. More importantly, you can help me. Here we go, said Blitzen. Son, be polite. First, Magnus, how are you faring with your sword? I missed a beat. I guess I still didn't think the sword of summer is mine. I pulled off the pendant, and the blade took shape in my hand in Freya's presence. He was silent and still, like it was playing dead. Maybe it was afraid of cats. I haven't had it much time to use it. I said, just got it back from Anne. Yes, I know. Freya's nose wrinkled with the slightest hint of distaste. And you delivered an apple to Utgard Loki in exchange. Perhaps not the wisest move, but I won't criticize your choices. You just did, Wilson said. The goddess ignored his comment. At least you didn't promise me to Utgard Loki. Usually, when giants make demands, they want apples and my hand in marriage. He flipped her braid over her shoulder. It gets very tiresome. I had a hard time looking at Freya without staring. There really wasn't anything safe to focus on. Her eyes, her lips, her belly button. I silently scolded myself. This is Blitzen's mom. This is my aunt. I decided to focus on her left eyebrow. There was nothing entrancing about her left eyebrow. So anyway, I said, I haven't really killed anything yet with the eyebrow. I mean the sword. Freya sat forward. Killed anything with it? Oh dear, that's the least of its powers. Your first task is to befriend the sword. Have you done this? I imagined the sword and me sitting down on the side in a movie theater, a tub of popcorn between us. I imagined dragging the sword on a leash, taking it for a walk through the park. How do you befriend a sword? Well, if you have to ask, look, Aunt Freya, I said, couldn't I just give the sword to you for safekeeping? If it's a veneer weapon. You're Frey's sister. You've got a few 100,000 well-armed, laid-back warriors to guard it from Sword? Oh no, she said sadly. The sword is already in your hands, Magnus. You summoned it from the river. You have laid claim to it. The best we can hope for is that Summer Bander, the Sword of Summer, will allow you to use it, keeping it from Cert and your job now, as long as you manage to stay alive. I hate my job. Lutz elbowed me. Don't say that, kid. You'll offend the blade. I looked down at the gleaming runes of the blade. I'm sorry, long, short, sharp piece of metal. Did that hurt your feelings? Also, if you allow people to wield you, why would you allow us evil? An evil fire giant to do so. Why wouldn't you want to go back to Frey, or at least to your lovely sister here? The sword did not reply. Magnus said, the goddess, this is not jesting matter. The sword is fated to belong to Cert. Sooner or later, you know this. The sword cannot escape its destiny any more than you can escape yours. I envisioned Loki chuckling on his lounge on the high seat of Odin. Our choices can alternate the details. That's how we rebel against destiny. Besides, Freya said, the sword would never allow me to use it. Some Franders holds me particularly responsible for its loss. It resents me almost as much as it resents Frey. Maybe it was my imagination, but the sword seemed to become colder and heavier. But it's Frey's sword, I protested. Listen grunted. It was. I told you, kid. He gave it away for love. The calico cat on Freya's right rolled over and stretched. Its spotted tummy was pretty cute, except for the fact that I kept imagining how many warriors it could comfortably digest. Without Frey sat on Odin's throne, continued the goddess, he did not have the he did so for my sake. It was a dark time for me. I was wandering the 9 worlds, grieving and bereft. Frey hoped that by sitting in the throne he might find me. Instead, the throne showed him his heart's desire, a frost giantess Gerd. He fell madly in love with her. I stared at Frey's eyebrow. The story wasn't helping my opinion of my dad. He fell in love at first sight with a frost giantess. Oh, she was beautiful, Freya said. Silver to Frey's gold, cold to his warmth, winter to his summer. You've heard that opposites attract. She was the perfect match, but she was a giant. She would never agree to marry a Vanir. Her family would not allow it. Knowing this, Frey fell into despair. Crops stopped growing. Summer lost its warmth. Finally, Frey's servant and best friend came to ask him what was wrong. Skirnir. These people have weird names. I said, the dude who got the sword. Freya frowned. Yes, him. Blitzen took a step back, like he was afraid his mom might explode. For the first time I realized how scary the goddess could look. Beautiful, yes, but also terrifying and powerful. I imagined her armed with a shield and spear, riding with the Valkyries. If I saw her on the battlefield, I would run the other direction. Skinner promised he could deliver gird within 9 days, said the goddess. All he required was a small fee for his services, the Sword of Summer. Frey was so love-stricken that he asked no question. The sword, I can only imagine how it felt when it was betrayed by its master. It's also skinnier to wield it, though not happily. Freya sighed. That is why the sword will never allow Frey to use it again, and that is why, at Ragnarok, Frey is fated to die because he does not have his weapon. I wasn't sure what to say. Bummer didn't seem to cover it. I remembered Loki warning about sitting on Odin's throne, looking at my heart's desires. What would I look for? My mother's whereabouts? Would I give up a sword to find her? Of course. Would I risk getting killed, even hastening doomsday? Yes. So maybe I couldn't judge my father. Blitzen gripped my arm. Don't look so glum, kid. I have faith in you. Freya's expression softened. Yes, Magnus, you will learn to use the sword, and I don't mean just swinging it like a brute. Once you discover its full abilities, you will be formidable and yeah, okay. Indeed. I don't suppose it comes with a user's manual. Freya laughed gently. I'm sorry, I don't get you in Folkvanger, Vengus, Folkvanger Magnus. Oh my gosh. You would have been a good addition to my followers, but Valhalla called you first. It was meant to be. I wanted to argue with the Norns, the Einherjar. Like I said, these are weird words, and the captain of the Valkyries didn't seem to think so. I don't remember so many weird, like, mythology words in Percy Jackson, but there sure are a lot in this series. I wanted to argue. No, that's the word I couldn't say. Okay, thinking about Gunilla made me remember our flight into the World Tree, and Sam and Hearthstone hiding under the veil of murderous squirrels. Our friends, we got separated from them in Yggdrasil. Freya, do you know if they made it here safely? Freya peered into the distance. They are not in Folkvanger. I see them, yes. Wait, lost them again. Ah, she winced. That was a close call. But they're fine for the moment. A resourceful pair. I sense they will not come here. You must continue on and meet them in Nividlir, which brings us to your quest. Oh, quest, super fun. And how we can help you? Let's said. Exactly, darling. You need brought your need brought you here. Need speaks strongly when you travel the world tree. After all, that's how my poor son found himself, being a bondservant to Mynir. You're not We're not having this discussion again, Blitz said. Freya turned over her lovely hands. Fine, moving along. As you well know, the dwarves create the rope Glenpier, which bound Furnace Wolf. Yes, Mom, Blitz said, rolling her eyes. Everyone learns that nursery rhyme in kindergarten. I squinted at him. Nursery rhyme. Glenpier, strong and stout, wrapped the wolf around her snout. Humans don't learn that one? I don't think so. At any rate, said the goddess, the dwarves will be able to tell you more about how the rope was made and how it might be replaced. I willed the sword back into pendant form. Even so, hanging around my neck, it seemed to weigh 100 pounds. I thought the idea was to keep the rope from getting cut in the first place. Ah, Freya trapped her lips. Magnus, I don't want to discourage you, but I'd say there is a good chance, perhaps a 75% chance, that even if you keep the sword from Surt, the fire giant will still find a way to free Furnace Wolf. Oh, in such a case, you must be prepared for a replacement rope. My tongue felt almost as heavy as my sword pendant. Yeah, that's not at all discouraging. The last time the wolf was free, didn't it make the gods working together to bind him? Freya nodded. It took 3 tries and much trickery. Poor Tyr lost his hand, but don't worry, the wolf will never fall for the hand-in-mouth trick again. If it comes to that, you will have to find another way to bind him. I bet Miles out in the people's battlefield didn't have these sort of problems. I wondered if he'd be interested in trading places for a while, going into Furnace Wolf while I played volleyball. Freya, can you at least tell us where the wolf is? On Lingsby, the Isle of Heather. Okay. The goddess tapped her chin. Let's see. Today is Thursday, the 16th. You mean Thursday. That's what I said. The island will rise on the full moon 6th day from now. On the 22nd, which is Wednesday, I asked. That's what I said. So, you should have plenty of time to get my earrings between you seek out the wolf. Unfortunately, the island's location shifts every year, and the branches Yggdrasil sway in the winds of the void. The dwarves should be able to help you locate it. Blitzen's father knew the way, others might as well. At the mention of his father, Blitz's face clouded over. Very carefully, he took a carnation from his vest and tossed it into the hearth's fire. And what do you want, Mother? What's your part of this? Oh, my needs are simple. Her fingers fluttered over her golden lace collar. I want you to commission some earrings that match my necklace, Brisgin, something nice, not too flashy and noticeable. Blitzen, you have excellent taste. I trust you. Blitzen glared at the nearest pile of riches, which contained dozens, maybe hundreds of earrings. You know who I have to talk to in Nivelier? Only one dwarf has the skill to replace the rope, Glimpier. Yes, Freya agreed. Fortunately, he also has an excellent jeweler, and he will be able to accommodate both her requests. Unfortunately, said Blitzen, this particular dwarf wants me dead. Freya waved aside his objection. Oh, he can't possibly, not after all this time. Dwarves have long memories, Mother. Well, generous payment will soften his attitude. I can help with that, she called across the hall. Dimitri, I need you. From one of the sofa clusters, 3 guys scrambled to their feet, grabbed their musical instruments, and hustled over. They wore matching Hawaiian shirts, Bermuda shorts, and sandals. Their hair was greased back and oh, that's funny. The first guy had a guitar, the second guy had bongos, and the third had a triangle. The guy with the guitar bowed to Freya. At your service, my lady. Freya gave me a spiritual smile as she had some wonderful secret to share. Magnus, meet Dmitri and the Do-Runs, the best band you've never heard of. They died in 1963, just as they were about to get their big break. So sad. They valiantly swerved their car off route, one of the spare busloads of school children from the terrible collision. In honor of their selfless deaths, I brought them here to Folkvanger. And we're very grateful, my lady, said Dmitri. Being your house band has been a sweet gig. Dmitri, I need to cry, she said. Could you please play the one about my lost husband? I love that song. I hate that song, Blitzen mumbled under his breath. The trio hummed. Dimitri's strummed a chord. I whispered to Blitzen, why does your mum need to cry? He turned toward me and made a finger down the throat gesture. Just watch, you'll see. Dimitri began to sing. Oh, odor, odor. That's okay. There is that odor. That is my love. The other two musicians harmonized on the chorus. Ode wanders far. My odor is missing. How odd is it not to be kissing my odor, my sweet odor. Triangle bongo solo. Blitzen whispered. Her golly husband was an Asier named Odor. Odd for short. Ode for short. I wasn't sure which name was worse. He disappeared, I guess. 2,000 years ago, Blitzen said. Freya went looking for him, disappeared herself for almost a century. While she searched, she never found him. But that was why Frey sat in Odin's chair in the first place, and to look for his sister. The goddess leaned forward and cupped her face in her hands. She drew a shaky breath. When she looked up again, she was weeping, but her tears were small pellets of red gold. She wept until her hands had full of glittering droplets. Odor, she sobbed. Why did he leave me? I miss you still. She sniffed and nodded to the musicians. Thank you, Dmitri, that's enough. Dmitri and his friends bowed, and their best band, I wish I'd never heard of, hold away. Freya raised her cupped hands. Out of nowhere, a leather pouch appeared, hovering over her lap. Freya spilled her tears into the bag. Here, my son, Freya passed the pouch to Blitzen. That should be enough payment for Itri Jr. in all is all reasonable. Blitzen stared glumly at the pouch of tears. The only problem is that he's not. You will succeed, Freya said. The fate of my earrings is in your hand. I snatched the back of my neck. Oh, Lady Freya, thanks for the tears and all. Couldn't you just go to Nivadir and pick out your own earrings? I mean, it isn't shopping half the fun? Blitzen shot me a warning look. Freya's blue eyes turned a few degrees colder. Her fingertips traced the filigree of her necklace. No, Magnus, I can't go shopping in Nivadir. You know what happened when I brought Bringsman from the dwarves. Do you want that to happen again? Actually, I had no idea what she was talking about, but she didn't wait for an answer. Every time I go to Nivadir, I get myself in trouble. She said, it's not my fault. The dwarves know my weakness for beautiful jewelry. Believe me, it's much better if I send you. Now, you'll excuse me, it's time for our evening Okay, with optional combat. Goodbye, Magnus. Goodbye, my darling Blitzen. The floor opened beneath us, and we fell into darkness.